Now, assuming you've already read the title of this video, you probably already know what this video is going to be about, but before I get into it, here's how all this started in the first place. I just heard from someone in the Trials Discord server that you could commission artists on a website called Fiverr. Yes, that's spelled with 2 R's. Anyways, I decided to look into it, and there are apparently a lot of artists to commission on Fiverr. It's definitely going to be a place to explore if I ever want any future commissions. Now, the reason I was browsing artists on Fiverr actually wasn't because I wanted to commission someone to draw the Spectrum in human form, but actually because I wanted to commission art of this character from Trials Fusion as a joke. But as I was scrolling through the pages, I came across this. Now, immediately after seeing this, I knew what I had to do. Finally, the promise of a decent Spectrum human OC was in my grasp. So I quickly paid for the service and sent the artist some references of the default Spectrum. Now you know why I asked for pictures of the default Spectrum in the Distance Discord. This commission would end up taking a little more than $80. That's enough to buy pretty much any game that people say is priced too high, and I definitely felt a little bad for my bank account after this. But in the end, it was all worth it, just to see the Spectrum turned into an anime girl. And now for what most of you probably wanted to watch this video for. Here's the reveal of Spectra, the anime girl adaptation of the Spectrum. When I first saw this, I was just in utter disbelief of what I had just done. Dude, look at this. It's so gaggy. This is actually amazing. What the frick? Dude, it's actually good though. What the frick? Oh, and yeah, I would like to give a special shout out to the artist of this piece, Faya Hato. This would not have been possible if it wasn't for their work, so thank you. Also, I hope no one has done this in the time I've been gone. Otherwise, this whole thing will probably fall pretty flat. So, what now? Well, for one, even though I technically own the OC now, I'll give you guys free reign to call it your OC too, and to do whatever the heck you want with it. Though I imagine most of you guys aren't artists, so you'll have to commission other artists too if you want more fan art of her. And though I'll allow NSFW fan art of her because I don't really like putting restrictions on things, just please, don't go overboard and make this another Clubette, which, if you didn't know, is a Geometry Dash fan character known more for her NSFW art than her SFW art. Look, I get it. It might sound funny to have NSFW art of Distance, but from what I've seen, it's very easy to take it too far. It would be really cool if we kept this as funny and wholesome as possible. However, if you really want to, I'm not going to do anything to stop you. Now, normally this is where someone would stop. No one would ever be insane enough to spend another $80. Okay, so the next thing I did was commission the same artist, except to do the same thing with the Archaic. Sorry, Archive, you're just not as iconic as the Archaic. Maybe next time. So yeah, that's what I did, much to the dismay of my now crippled bank account. So, here's Archaic, the anime version of the Archaic. Again, I was blown away not only by how good it looks, but how recognizable it was. You could definitely tell this character was inspired by the Archaic, especially if you put the two side by side. Oh, and just so you know, my hopes for this character are the exact same as it is for Spectra, so I'm giving you guys free reign over what you want to do with this character. Again, try not to go too overboard with the NSFW art, if any, please. Now lastly, I want to talk about one more thing. How to commission artists politely. As someone who's done multiple commissions from multiple artists, I'll give you a little guide so that you don't embarrass yourself or end up with a product you don't want if you ever decide to commission art in the future. 1. If the character isn't yours or is from a game, ask the artist beforehand if they're willing to draw that character, since some artists will only draw an OC, and sometimes only draw an OC that you own, so it's a pretty good idea to ask beforehand. 2. If the artist doesn't seem 100% confident in their abilities, or if you have a commission idea for a character or idea that you aren't sure the artist will be able to draw because of how weird or wacky it is, make sure to message them beforehand. Sending them a reference, or if you don't have a reference, a description of what you want them to draw, and ask them if drawing it is within their skill set. If it is, great, but if it isn't, back to artist hunting you go. 3. Ask the artist what their preferred payment method is, and pay them with that method. This is not only a piece of advice on how to be more polite when commissioning works, but also a good idea if the artist has very specific ways they will require you to pay it, or have payment methods which seem available but actually aren't accepted by the artist. This can be seen a lot on Etsy, where some titles will specifically say not to buy the work through the Etsy payment system. This is because Etsy will always display a way to pay through Etsy, and I don't think it can be disabled. Otherwise, you probably would have just disabled payment through Etsy instead of telling you what to do through the title or description. 4. Make sure you're getting what you want from the artist. If you didn't know already, which I actually didn't, there are some artists that will use AI to draw a picture for you instead of doing it by hand. Some people say they can tell the difference between AI draw pictures and pictures drawn by a human, but if that's a skill people have, I certainly don't have it. So if you're like me and can't tell the difference, just look at the descriptions and reviews to make sure the artist you're commissioning is doing it handmade if you want it handmade, or doing it with AI if you want that for some reason. Some artists also use a combination of AI and their own skills, but that's besides the point. 5. Always read the description and the TOS if there is one. This should be obvious, but I'll put it in here anyways. 6. This pretty much goes without saying, but be prepared to feel bad for your bank account if you want to commission anything of high quality, or something more complicated like a reference sheet or something. 7. Check if the artist needs a reference sheet for your character, or just a reference. This can usually be figured out in the description of these commissions, but if not, you can always ask the artists themselves. 8. Again, this goes without saying, but make sure to check the reviews in the artist's work just to make sure you aren't going to get scammed when you make a commission. 9. Jeez, I did not anticipate this many, but oh well, alright. Say, after all this, you're still nervous about getting something commissioned. I recommend doing what I did the first time and just ask the artist what the process will be and what you have to do in order to get a commission from them. Or tell them this is your first time commissioning an artist and that you aren't really sure how the whole thing works yet. In any case, just ask the artist if you're unsure about pretty much anything. Artists aren't going to turn away a potential client, aka potential income, unless they are just closed for commissions or they aren't confident enough that they can draw what you want. So chances are they'll actually be super helpful and walk you through the process if you just ask. Of course, this probably gets a little harder when the artist can't speak or type English as well as you can speak or type it, making communication a little bit more difficult, but I don't think that it'll be much of a problem. And with that, that's all my advice. Personally, I would love to see more fan art of these characters, so I kind of wanted to encourage you to make some commissions of your own with these characters. Maybe we could have anime adaptations of the cars like the Archive, Catalyst, and Interceptor. The Encryptor is just a skeleton, so I don't know how well that would work, and Halicon is just a spectrum with the film around it, so I'm not sure about that one either. The Echoes engine, or whatever it's called, is also not very iconic, and the crabs are just, well, crabs. Not much to work off there either. After a bit of searching and brainstorming though, the most characterful things in this game are probably the statue from Backgrounds' level full, maybe the moving statues from Backgrounds' ergonomic streams, the sloth, Corn, Pineapple's avatar, Backgrounds' avatar, the lamp, the triangle-shaped dropper drone, the wizard from Mr. Wizard's Curse 1 and 2, the Unity symbol, and the dodecahedron-shaped virus thing. Also, you can do the thing where you take a level and make a character whose design is inspired by the level. This is something that's kind of already been done in the Geometry Dash community, but I'm pretty sure it worked pretty well with some of the distance levels too, like Arctic Scarrow, Rega, and Tauku. While all this is cool to think about, I am aware that distance players are pretty much broke, so maybe I shouldn't expect too much. I would do it myself, but I think I've already put my bank account through enough torture. I just thought I'd bring it up, just in case someone out there besides me wants to try a similar thing. Lastly, I just want to talk about this video. For a long time, I was bedridden for about a year, and I couldn't really do anything. It was like a mental health issue. But since then, I've slowly started to get better, and this is kind of like my first project after being in bed for like about a year. So this is kind of a big milestone for me. But enough of that. Hopefully you've had some fun with this. See you next time when I maybe or may not make another video like this in the future.